welcome to the return of the show. I am Ben, that is Abraham, and we are here today to talk about Rings of Power, episode 107, The Eye.
The Eye.
This is, and really, you done there, but
That's my eye.
That's your eye? That's your eye, my dude?
Yep.
I just gotta say, this episode, again, pretty good.
Yeah, it's actually, again, it's following the same trajectory of, like, decent episodes now that
we're out of
Numenor.
Numenor. I'm like, I was literally like, I was sitting next to my partner and we were talking about the show, and it was like, her big complaint about the show has been like, we get these characters, especially Galadriel, and I see that their stories are foils together, but none of them are spending time to each other, so you're not actually contrasting any of the characters.
Yeah.
And now that we're out of Numenor, it's like, oh,
great.
The writing's fantastic. Yeah. I love everything that I'm seeing. But we do end up in the situation of this episode pulled a lot of shit.
Yeah, it basically just went, hey, everything that you've been talking about on the internet for the past, 7 weeks? Wrench in the cogs.
Okay.
Fuck your canon. Rah!
Okay, so yeah, essentially this broke a lot of fan theories, potentially including our own. However, I'm actually still hesitant on that. I think that there's still room for some of our Halbrand and Meteor Man theories here.
Yeah.
However, it did do some things that highly pull the canon into question.
Yes.
Now, I have a big caveat with this show and whenever we're discussing canon. With the first episode we talked about Rings of Power, I opened up with canon's a big conversation here because they kind of threw a lot of the original stuff out, mostly because they didn't have the rights to it.
Right.
Because they bought the rights to the books, but they could not get the rights to the Silmarillion, the unfinished tales, or any of the other pieces from the Tolkien estate.
Big pieces.
Which is the reason why a lot of the storylines are drastically different in some major and some minor details.
Mm-hmm.
So a big one, actually, for a while was the idea of Galadriel and Halbrand.
Yeah.
Her husband, who everyone was like, but she's supposed to have many brothers, all of whom die throughout the war, but they've only included one.
Okay,
according to the original canon. And then
they literally are just changing stuff.
Yeah, they're just changing stuff. Now, that being said, a lot of the greater beats are there. We were all confused in the fandom about where's her husband? She's supposed to be married by now because she got married at some time in the First Age.
Yeah.
And everyone was confused, and that's fine. But now we're finally having some of those questions answered in ways that, at least on the surface, go against a lot of what we believe to exist.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that we do need to talk about, because the big canon breaking thing is Isildur.
Oh yes,
just straight up dying in quotes.
There's a lot going on there.
Here's the thing. I will say, you are suspicious about the death.
Yes.
Why? And why is that?
First of all, main reason why I'm suspicious is because this. So a lot of people have, for the most part, complained about the canon breaking.
Mm-hmm.
The show has been, at least up until now, very actually good about when it breaks canon. It does so in a way that can get back to what we have established in at least the books that they have the rights to.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole thing of like, where's Celeborn? Where's her husband? It's like, well, maybe in this version they haven't met yet, but now it's, he's missing.
Yeah.
That's a major example. We also have with, like, when I'm looking at Isildur, I'm looking, a building fell on top of him.
Yeah.
They may not have had the resources to try and dig him out, but someone else might. So the pieces that are kind of going on here is like, sure, something may seem that it is a certain way right now, but we know that eventually we are going to get places, because I cannot imagine Neil Gaiman, the showrunner for this, being stupid enough
to like let that happen.
To completely go against what exists within the larger canon, especially from the movies, which are the most popular versions of these stories.
Yeah.
And the movies are very canon light. They have a couple beats that you really need to hit. you can kind of ignore a lot of the larger lore. You can be a very casual Lord of the Rings fan and enjoy the movies.
Mhm.
Where the stuff that like people are really upset about is the stuff that is in the Silmarillion, is in Lost Tales.
Yeah.
And again, like when we're engaging with a piece of media like this, we have to engage with it for what it is.
Right.
So I'm always hesitant to hold judgment based off of anything that's like, oh, it's breaking canon. And you have to say, okay, but it's breaking canon from other pieces of media. It can have its own canon.
This is kind of like in, by the way, spoiler alerts for House of the Dragon. Have you seen House of the Dragon?
I have.
Okay. So in the most recent episode, it's canon in A Song of Ice and Fire that Laenor Velaryon dies. However, in the show, we learn a full backstory, which is that he faked his death and then escaped into the Bravos.
I did not know that that was a canon break.
It was in the books. At least I read the wiki and I was like, oh, it's just saying that he died. And so that's an example of like what you're saying, where they can say, oh yeah, this person did this thing at this date, or this person died. So, but they could fill in the gaps to make it seem like it makes sense in the history of the characters who remember it, or what have you.
So a really great example of this is actually the Hart Foots. So a lot of people were really, really upset when this show started airing that there were no hobbits in the Third Age of Middle Earth.
Right.
None of them existed. There's no record of them being, there's no hobbits in the Second Age of Middle Earth. They're not in there until the Third Age. And it's like, yeah, okay, we get it, my guys. But if you also pay attention, the hobbits reveal themselves to no one. When the tall people are like, when the big folk are walking through their encampment,
they hide.
Quickly turn to camouflage. So you're right. There is no record of that because no one knew.
Yeah.
And then these Hartfoots are here being stealthy as fuck, doing what hobbits do best.
Yeah, which is hiding.
Yeah. So it's like, yes, canonically, there is no record of it. But
in the larger world, they were always there. They just only revealed themselves after a certain point in history. Yeah.
So these are the kind of things that happen. You have to remember that like this show is filling in the gaps between the core story that is within the books.
And it's something that a prequel should do, especially if like we know Anakin Skywalker is going to turn into Darth Vader. Yes. That's not the interesting part. The interesting part is how it happens.
Exactly.
So the fact that they're like doing their best to like keep us on our toes and guessing is something is commendable for the writer.
Unfortunately, it's also the reason why when we were coming up with the show notes for today's podcast,
we were struggling.
It was hard. This is easily the hardest podcast that I think I've ever come up with an outline for.
Yeah.
But yeah, really what this boils down for me is with Isildur and basically anyone else, if there's no body, they're not dead.
Yeah. And that goes for Celeborn too.
Yeah.
Or Celeborn.
Yeah, Celeborn and Galadriel's husband. And another extra canonical thing here is that at least in the original stories that are, again, not in the main books, but in the in Lost Tales and the Silmarillion, he's a part of the active war effort along with Galadriel. He never goes missing. There's no story about him ever going missing throughout the First Age. They've added this in. And she believes him to be dead, which is actually really good because that means we actually now have a new character line and plot line for her to follow through with when all this other shit comes to a head. Because at some point, Galadriel's going to get to a really bad low.
Yeah.
Just based off of how she's a main character. Story shapes require that she's going to hit her lowest point somewhere between the halfway mark within this story. She's going to need another reason to start pushing forward, and then having this existing is really good, especially if our Halbrand theories turn out to be correct.
Yeah.
Because they have been coding her relationship with Halbrand to be a romantic one. Yeah, I said coding.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, I'm just wishing for it not to be. I guess, is there anything else that you wanted to talk about? Because I'm kind of lost when it comes to the Celeborn and Isildur.
Yeah.
That whole thing is lost to me because I have not seen the movies. I don't know who these people really will be. So any guesses that you have?
based off of those two, that's kind of where I have to be. I'm also like, I don't know what exact direction they're going to be going with them. I'd imagine Isildur is going to get dug back up. I mean, his horse did go back after him.
Yeah.
The relationship between horses and their riders is thematically stupidly integral. Stupidly integral to how these stories are told.
Yeah.
Like Aragorn has a very special relationship with his horse, so does Gandalf. It is very much a consistent theme throughout this property. So his horse, I mean, will his horse dig him up? No.
Probably he'll probably try to make an escape from Mordor.
If he gets dug up by orcs, maybe his horse helps him get out.
Yeah. Who knows?
That's all possible. Also, there's a solid chance that we will not see this until season 2. I don't think that he has a reason to be dug up.
Yeah, especially because his father, I believe his father's probably going to be going back. They're already on the way back to Numenor. I don't think we're going to pick up that.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that this might end up being how Isildur becomes a king of the of one of the southern tribes of men, or not tribes of men. Excuse me, one of the southern kingdoms. Because if he ends up in this position, he is a Numenorian. He could end up wielding that power to himself if he's lost somewhere in the south by himself. Yeah. So all these are possible. There is a way for him to rise to greatness, especially if he's left in Middle-earth by himself.
Okay. Well, we'll have to wait and see. But I guess we also got to talk about Durin, our favorite dwarf.
The bromance this episode.
It was sad.
So sad.
The tears, there were real tears being shed.
Oh my God. My boys, that the whole moment are just like, and there's names that we only tell our brothers, and it's just like, oh no, buddy.
Yeah.
Buddy.
The mithril, though, apparently it's real. The king of the elves was not
making shit up.
Yep.
Which unfortunately, just because of the nature of this story, you have to kind of call everything into question.
Yeah.
Again, this is super different from the original Lord of the Rings, but like even in Tolkien's work, this is always about an age of deception.
Yeah.
So everything has to be called into question, and so much got called into question this episode. Yeah, Mithril apparently does what he alleges it does.
Unless the corruption was intentionally created to be responsive to Mithril. I don't know.
Which I think, so here's the thing. I don't think that it will go that way because it's a soft magic system.
Yeah.
So fortunately, when a soft magic system happens, there are some things that we can say, like it would be way too out of league for them to have to figure that kind of thing out.
Yeah, to like create something in order to get them to like, and also there's too many steps. Yeah, it wouldn't make sense. It's more likely that this is just a true story plus, the lightning pattern on the rocks. It makes sense. Yeah,
it's lightning root like. It fulfills every single thing that story had. So Mithril's there, gets rid of the rot, but doesn't really help Elrond or Prince Durin. As a matter of fact, it kind of does the opposite.
Yeah, it makes Prince Durin's dad be really, really mad. And they have like an argument that I was like, I felt it was probably the spiciest argument I've ever seen on a TV show in a minute.
It started out as just like, when you were born, there was something wrong with you.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, Dad.
Damn, Dad. Whoa. And then he was like, Elrond is like basically a brother to me as if he were born by my own mother. And then his dad is like, how dare you insult her memory like that? And he's like, no, how dare you be a shitty father? I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa, buddy.
Yeah.
It gets really, really harsh.
Here's the thing. I love that scene.
I did too.
Everything about that was super believable. I was super, super into the storytelling that was going on there.
Yeah.
Did it end well for either of our boys? No.
Yeah, because Elrond got banished.
Yeah.
But he has a piece of the mithril.
He still has the piece that was gifted to him.
Yes.
He does not have a strict way forward that can save things, though.
Not unless he reveals the secret of the mithril to the king.
That it's there?
Yeah.
Yeah, he hasn't done that. You're right.
I mean, this would be an instance where I'm like...
You kind of have to.
I mean, if you're going to... If all of your people
your friend did it... Like, here's the thing. He was only worried about betraying his friend.
Yeah.
He's not worried about betraying the king of the dwarves.
No. If your friend is okay with it, and also all the other council people are okay with it.
Yeah, you could probably do it. Do I think a elf-dwarf war is a great idea?
No.
Does this potentially explain some things that happen in the future regarding elf-dwarf relationships?
Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, it's going in the right direction there. Durin, on the other hand, does kind of lose his position of power.
Yeah, he's pretty much stripped of. I'm assuming that's stripped of his title.
Yeah, and this is where the show gets strange.
This is okay.
This is where the show gets very strange.
Let us know if you thought this too. We were watching this episode, and we were like, "Damn, Durin, you lost your title." And then his wife is just curling up beside him, and then she's just like, "Your father is weak. He can't do the job. You will be king." And it's like,
have you heard the myth of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
It's like she's like Emperor Palpatining him, like whispering in his ear.
Here's the thing. I would have thought like nothing of it. Like, sure, girl boss, like everything's great, but she has her eyes, which do have a natural amber color to them, are getting the most intense firelight eyelight that I've seen
in the show. Yeah, it's even more prominent than those weird looking white people with the black fingertips. Like,
we'll be talking about them later.
Their blue eyes are like, they're creepy. In that one scene, that was wild. That looked weird.
Okay, so from a filmmaking perspective, for anyone that is not familiar, eyelight is not an accidental thing.
No.
You have to do a lot of positioning just to get a light to reflect in someone's eyes. And it's actually a really important part of filmmaking. It's used to show if someone still has life in them. Usually when you are doing a death scene, what you do is you have some tiny light that reflects in someone's iris, and then you slowly dim it out as someone dies. That's how you convey that cinematic language.
Yeah.
They're a pain in the ass to set up. I cannot emphasize this enough.
That means that someone intentionally set up that shot to do that way. Also, additionally, if you listen very closely, there's a slight echo in her words.
Which is very intentional sound design.
Combined with something that was actually said a few episodes back about her singing a song in order to get the mountain to... Like,
go on.
No, in order for this, basically she's like, oh yeah, how I basically do the song is, and get the mining and the ore, I sing to the mountain tells me, it returns back to me where the ore is, and then I get in there. Basically, using her words to manipulate the mountain to show her what she needs.
Okay, so...
If we're going deep... conspiracy board, Charlie Day patting a wall, Pepe Sylvia style. Is that a metaphor for Prince Durin?
So I think it is more literal. I do think because dwarves are known to have a magical affinity for the earth, and also dwarves are known to sing a lot.
Yeah,
okay,
so it is an established.
It is an established
fair
thing.
Fair.
I will give them this. I don't think that is the sussy part of this. What I do think is sussy, and I think that this is actually so. Like, I don't believe her to be Sauron only for the fact that. It would be such a crazy long game to be like, I'm gonna bear your children. Yeah, no, I do not think that that's the case at all.
Yeah, no.
What I do think is the showrunners are dicks and knew exactly what they were doing by naming the episode The Eye, having only one set of eyes with a thing of fire in them.
Yeah,
and like personally, I think that one of the reasons why this is being done the way that it is first of all, a very smart writing thing, because they know that we're going to be looking for who Sauron is throughout the entire show.
Yeah.
So they need multiple red herrings wherever they can get them in order to throw the scent off. Because what they want is really for a couple really, like any person that's writing a mystery, you want a couple really, really engaged people to figure out exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
And you want the masses to be just slightly off.
Yeah.
But you need at least enough people that get there or get close, so that when the mystery was revealed, you can go, aha, I knew it. Because the most important part of mystery as a genre is audience participation.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why, like with Gravity Falls, you have like a bunch of ARG like anomalies that like work into it, where people are like trying to figure out clues to the show later on. This doesn't have that, obviously, but that's just an element of it. Like us theorizing, and the fact that like we have YouTube videos that do relatively well for a channel of our size, that is us theorizing, is a part of audience participation. That's the big thing. So when you're writing a mystery, you have to make sure that that's there. So you can also be a little shit about it.
And intentionally
just red herring everything.
Yeah.
And I think that this is an instance of this. And there's a solid chance that Meteor Man and Halbrand also fall into this camp.
It very well could be. And also, even if this isn't, obviously, like, I don't think that this is Sauron.
No.
Because the child thing that'd be a fucking wild, long game.
If Durin comes off canonically as the only person to ever fuck Sauron, like...
But anyways, even if it's not Sauron, which I don't think it is, I think this does speak to her character and a little bit of a potential malice that exists within her. Because even if this isn't Sauron, that's still a pretty fucked up thing to suggest. And it could be that without Prince Doran's advice from his father and that like steady rock that and that like knowledge of the past that he has, Prince Durin and his wife could be the subsequent forces that cause the war later down the line.
I think Disa holds a lot of power here.
Yeah.
I think that you're probably right that she's going to help incite, and it does speak to her character, and also speaks to a couple things about the dwarves. So a whole thing with the dwarves and like how Tolkien did all of his races, and this is like as good intention as Tolkien was with some things, where he was like, I want to make sure that like the real life races that I am basing these people off of are fine and respected, and I do so much research on everything.
Yeah.
He also still coded the dwarves as largely Jewish and based them off the Jewish people, and then made their known vice universally greed.
Yeah.
Not a great look.
Not good.
Fortunately, they're not really doing that with the fact that they are much more diverse with the casting.
Yeah.
Which does help throw off that scent, thank God. But as we are getting closer to that, I think Disa having this lust for power and seeing ambition as a form of greed within the dwarves does help solidify that. And also with the storyline of the 7 rings that will go to the dwarves, what these rings will end up doing is they will end up causing the dwarves to get insanely rich. The power that the rings give the dwarves canonically is that they become wealthy because of them. They are able to find great riches because of them. They are able to wish riches into existence. So thematically, it's all lining up.
Could Disa be the one to wield the ring?
I think Disa could end up being a ring bearer.
Okay.
At some point. I would say Durin's also up there. I don't think King Durin is going to be around for much longer.
Oh, he's dying next episode.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm willing to place bets on that. Yeah, I agree with you.
I would bet money on that.
Yeah, like, especially now that we know, hey, there's a Balrog at the bottom.
There's a Balrog at the bottom. Also, your son disagrees with you. His wife disagrees with you. And as he said, the entire council is for making a deal with the elves. Because the elves, what's his name? Elrond made a really good deal with them.
Yeah.
He was like, listen, all you got to do is just give us a mithril so we can live. And we'll give you timber for the next 4 centuries or whatever.
5 centuries.
5 centuries. And apparently that's like, all the other dwarves are like, oh fuck, they're gonna give us that good tree?
Yeah.
Whoa.
No, it's a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
And I do think that Durin is King Durin. If he knows about the Balrog, he should probably fucking say something.
I don't think he does.
Well, then it is literally, I agree with his son full fold.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's bad at his job then.
I mean, maybe he does, but at the same time, it's like, if you don't want to... I could see it going either way.
Well, okay, he's either bad at his job, or he's racist.
I mean, those don't have to be mutually exclusive.
That is fair.
He
could be both.
He could be both. Oh well, I don't. Again, that's another thing where I'm like, we're just gonna have to wait and see in the next episode, see where the chips land.
So, I guess now, let's go to the probably, in my opinion, the wildest part of this. Which, if you have been watching our previous coverage, we have a very large, crazy theory about Halbrand being potentially Sauron, and also potentially the Meteor Man is also Sauron, and those things can be simultaneously true. Mm-hmm. The story is moving in a direction where many believe that this can no longer be the case.
It could be, if this is part of his deception, there can easily be a workaround. I don't know.
So, no, I think you're right. I think that there's a lot potentially going on here. So right now, he is headed towards the elves. He is patched up, and Galadriel's taking him out. They kept him very hidden throughout the entire episode.
Was he? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
So that's the thing that has me curious, because they stated that he took a and correct me if I'm wrong, but they stated that he took a wound fighting the orcs.
Yeah.
I don't remember him taking a wound fighting the orcs.
He did not.
Yeah.
It's implied that this would have happened
between when the eruption happened.
However, if you notice, what's her name? The kid's mother. She claims that they brought him via wagon.
Yes.
So sometime between where the volcano erupted, because we saw him close to the time where that happened, right?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, he would have had to have sustained that injury in between when the volcano erupted, or when the volcano erupted and when the debris happened.
Yep.
And at that point, all the elves were captured, and it was just chaos. And based on how Galadriel was when she woke up, I didn't see any orcs around the area.
Well, no. So there was a small set of orcs that they were keeping under a sunroof as prisoners.
Yes.
But that's it. That's the only group that could possibly have done anything. We didn't see them pillaging the village.
That's what I'm saying. We didn't see them attack or anything.
They went straight for the escape.
Yeah.
This actually, going further into our Halbrand is Sauron theory. I don't know if you remember last episode, and we forgot to talk about this, but when the ash rolled through everything and started overtaking the entire village, Adar was cut free from his chains.
Yeah.
They had a close-up of just, he suddenly escaped.
Yep.
He's suddenly gone.
Where did he go?
The last character we see with Adar is Halbrand.
Mm-hmm.
If we are following the Halbrand might be Sauron theory, it is possible for Halbrand to have cut Adar free so that he could have rallied his orcs and gotten them out of there in the confusion of everything.
Right.
Potentially, he could have faked, staged, or sustained that wound then, and then allowed for this to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, if his goal is to get close to the elves, which we do know that if he is Sauron, he wants to be able to manipulate everyone. This is plan 1, get a stronghold for the orcs. Plan 2 is find a way to successfully wield his power to be as strong as he can possibly be.
Yeah.
So, if his goal is to get to the elves to try and pull even more strings, this is how he could do it.
Yeah, and it only further solidifies him as a noble person in the eyes of the people.
Yep.
Because he's a wounded king who fought on the battle.
Yep.
And it's I don't know. I'm just, that gap in time is so suspicious. And also, why would he release Adar if he would have been responsible for his death? So that's a question.
Again, that's all based off of theory. If we are talking about him potentially being if we're talking about him being Sauron and doing this, he could possibly want to have had him released in order to potentially fulfill something else that he already knew that Adar would probably be working on.
Rallying the orcs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So like finish compiling an army, and it's just like you put them together, and I'll take it from you later. And
I mean,
that already works with the theory that we were talking about last week.
Mm-hmm.
So again, really any direction would kind of work. The issue here would be how Sauron is supposed to appear as the elf that eventually convinces them to make the rings as what they are. So first of all, I want to give a shout out to a commenter, Kathim Nadai. I am so sorry if I butchered your pronunciation. That is about how this would sort of change and be challenged by the existence of him being that elf, which the existence of him being that elf who goes by the name Anatar.
Okay.
So at some point in the core canon, he is going to have to appear to the elves and be the apprentice of Celebrimbor under this guise. That's how that story is supposed to. That's how this story is supposed to take shape. That is potentially like Act 2 of what's going on is when these rings are being made.
Yeah.
So we know based off of the preview that some shit is going to go down once in the capital.
Yeah.
We see Galadriel's dagger coming out of the water. We see her talking about not wanting to drown upon arriving back. So some shit's going to go down. If Sauron does reveal himself, and if for some reason he is Halbrand, then there is a chance he may be quickly defeated or may die within that character. Yeah, loose quotations around all of that. And
taking a new form.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. That's the only way that I could see this really working.
If we're fulfilling
this theory.
If it's not the theory, then like honestly, there's plenty of other theories going around about who Halbrand could be. Like, oh, he's going to become the Witch King of the Nazgul, or oh, he's going to become the king of the. He's going to become the King of the Dead. Those are two characters that, while the Witch King is terrifying, really, literally any of the men that have claim here could become this. I think that he has the strongest claim, but there's no reason for the story to directly go into that fulfillment just yet.
Okay.
I've seen some other people saying
it would be pretty wild for him to show his hand, because it would raise so many red flags.
The way that the Witch King happens is the Witch King is manipulated into becoming the Witch King. So the men will receive the rings of power.
Yeah.
And unlike the other greater races, which now saying that out loud, that does not age well.
Nope.
But unlike the other like fantastical races, men have the weakest willpower. They are more likely to be corrupted by evil artifacts. Okay. So we see this with Theo and the way that he's reacting to the sword and how he like lust for it.
Right.
The only issue with Theo becoming the Witch King is that it is very canonical that all of the rings that were given out to the men were given out to the kings of men. They were given out to rulers. Now, unless Theo takes up some leadership position, which could happen.
His mother could die. He could become a ruler in his own right.
Like,
possible.
Yeah, that's the only way that is going to work for that theory.
They did set that up because Galadriel did give him the sword at the end of this episode. And we've already teased her death so many times that I feel like it's only inevitably going to happen. Maybe not. I don't think it's going to happen this season.
No, I think way later down the line. This is not a contained story.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 to 4 seasons. I would be surprised if they did 5.
I honestly time skip,
you think?
I think
at some point?
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
I think it could easily, I think it would save time. Especially between like, how long is it going to take to create the rings? You know? I don't think that's going to be like
that is a fair point.
So I think like that could be a pretty substantial time shift where they're like, we gotta create these rings of power. End credit. Season 2 picks up. Oh, we're almost done creating these rings of power, and it's been years.
We're gonna have to wait and see.
So that could be it. I also do think, like, how could it be possible that Halbrand could stick around and could still be playing a longer game, and they could do that thing where they're like, could Celebrimbor, his apprentice, be revealed essentially at the end of this episode, or at the end of the next episode? Maybe Halbrand also joins in that effort. The two of them are working together as their apprentice, and then maybe in the next season, fuckery happens between,
and then he takes
his place,
over that
influences him, something.
As long as he stays alive,
yeah,
and is working within conjunction of the rings, that is a total possibility. And we've already seen from this character that he wants to forge.
Yeah.
That's his whole main thing. He got there, and the first thing he did is like, I want to make things.
Yeah.
So
I would be more willing to guess that, because I don't think he would just like, haha, I'm Sauron, and then he gets killed, and then he's like, oh, I'm taking over another body, and now it's another person. I think it'd be more likely for him to continue to play the long game, but we, the audience, have the dramatic irony now in our heads.
Yes,
where we're like,
I think that's a very likely theory. I will say, the story is moving in a direction where there's a lot that's coming to a head. There's a lot of things that we do not know.
Yeah.
I don't think that Halbrand being Sauron has been put out of question just yet.
Yeah.
Halbrand being Sauron is not put out of question until he is like confirmed dead, is
pretty much
what's happening, or unless there's another character that is confirmed Sauron.
Yeah.
Which I think that there's a chance that they may reveal who Sauron actually is in the final.
They have to. I think they really, in order for people to, I think, continue to watch, they would be dumb to not plant the seed in the audience's mind that one character is Sauron in disguise.
I agree with that, but I'm also a little pessimistic about some of the decisions with this show.
Yeah, fair.
Because pacing is the one thing that this show has been very bad at.
Yeah, like the Hart Foots.
Yeah.
The Hart Foots finally did something interesting.
The Hart Foots just started their hero's journey.
Yep.
Just now. I don't know how we ended up starting it that late. It is the penultimate episode, and they are finally saying, we must do a thing with agency.
Hey, man, I think we're going to have to become characters who drive the plot forward.
I saw an interview where I think it was the man who plays the dad being like, the Hart Foots are like the beating heart of the story. And I'm like, they're really,
that's really like his character. Every time he's like, God damn it, we're Hart Foots. We're brave and we're caring and we eat stuff from trees. Like that's
that is his whole shtick.
That's his whole.
But I mean, like, to say that they are the beating heart of the story is a little extra.
Yeah, that's
because they're not really driving the plot.
I mean, it's interview language. You know,
that's fair.
He had to say something.
You gotta sell. Well, he was selling it to
show.
Amazon though, so I don't like. They could have just not used that interview bite. But this is my example of like, wow, we've had a whole lot of nothing for the season, and it finally got to the point where I'm like, the Hart Foots were easily the most intriguing part.
Yeah,
but nothing has happened. They were intriguing because of the basic elements that we had within the story, which is like, there's a magical man and there's these hobbits and what's happening? How does that play into itself? They're so fun to watch. They're adorable. And then there's also this sense of ever foreboding doom that comes at the same time. The dynamics in it play pristinely well. And this episode, it really paid off with the visits of creepy white people.
Yeah, who are just like, it's also, okay, I do want to talk about that moment because you're saying that they're evil.
I'm saying that anyone that sets fire to a bunch of carriages of hobbits is a bad person.
Counterpoint: if they are the Malar police, if they're like, we gotta hunt the bad ones, and they are like, and Nori's like, oh, actually, the direction that you're pointing at is not the right direction. It's actually this direction because I'm trying to bullshit you. You'd be like, all right, fuck your shit.
That is fair.
I mean, she intentionally did try to...
She did try to intentionally mislead them.
Yeah.
They're definitely confirmed Malar now.
Yeah.
They did magic. They did just
absorbed the fire and then just...
They did full-blown wizard shit. Like, again, that only goes to one race of people that can exist in Middle-earth.
So it is confirmed now that the Meteor Man is a Malar.
Yes.
Yeah. And he did a miracle. He's been doing miracles, but he did a
big one.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah, you couldn't just be a dude and do that.
Yeah.
So they're all Malar.
Yeah.
Fun fact, the Balrog, also a Malar, just to put that in everyone's head.
Cool. Of course he is.
Yep. So there's some fuck shit going on here, very clearly. As to them not being evil, at the very least, they are antagonists.
Yeah,
and I think we're all in agreement there.
Yeah, because they are definitely going to be an oppositional force, but it's a question of are they in a are they operating in macro good?
So if we're talking macro good, then yes. However, plenty of entities in fiction operate at a macro good
level and then do fucked up shit.
Yes.
Yeah. There's no doubt about that. And I mean, they could have burned them alive. They didn't. So hey.
That's the kindness that they showed.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, you remember, they're insanely powerful. Fact is that the entirety of the Fellowship of the Ring and all the original Lord of the Rings stuff, if Gandalf just wanted to burn the Shire to the ground, he could have done it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Sauron moved over there at the end of the books, not in the movies, but he moved Saruman, excuse me.
Mm-hmm. Saruman, I know.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah, he's a wizard.
Yes. The White Wizard moves over there at the end of the books and very instantaneously turns all the hobbits into slaves.
Oof.
Yeah.
Damn.
Crazy shit. And the hobbits oust him, and that's when he actually dies in the books. But that's neither here nor there. The point is that they're really strong.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're thinking about I'll get sort of Lovecraftian here, or going into the Full Metal Alchemist mode
of God.
Yeah, if you're insanely powerful, you live forever, and these tiny little mortals exist. It's just they're ants.
Yeah, they don't even mean
how nice of it is it for me to just step on some of their things and not destroy their entire anthill?
Right.
That, yeah, I could see that. Also, the fact that they say nothing.
That's what I'm saying. They're not giving up the goat at all onto what their motivation is, and it's also because we don't know anything about the Meteor Man still.
Yep.
Even though we're damn, fuck those people for burning their shit, I'm they kind of did do a bad thing, and it was the retaliation for that. That was, them burning it was because, hey, you lied to us.
You lied and you threatened, my life, even though, they were never a threat at all.
Because imagine if you went to God, who's trying to save you from the devil, who you were just hanging out with, and then you were hey, no, actually he's over there. You'd be all right, I'm gonna teach you a lesson, and then I'm gonna go save your ass.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm just saying it doesn't disprove the Meteor Man is evil theory.
I think you are correct. I will not.
It's definitely a tick, in the other direction, where it's okay, because I mean, he gave them food.
He did give them food.
So I don't.
Also, I will say the Hart Foots, no manners. No one said thank you for the earlier things.
He almost killed someone.
Not intentionally. They were
they don't know that.
There's clearly a man at work here.
I mean, but imagine if you were just I'm gonna heal the tree, and then you started speaking weird words, branch falls, and then it's just you did not the dirt moved a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair. Also, I keep forgetting how fragile hobbits are, because those children are
yeah, imagine a giant spear just fucking
yeah, I'm just
impaling.
It's a light branch that fell on them. No, that could have impaled their tiny selves.
To them, that's a tree.
The small child was maybe that big.
I'm just saying. He could be evil, he could be not. It's literally the showrunners going, hey, you never know. Check out the finale to figure it out.
What's it gonna be? I think the real question is where he's going for the next episode right now.
Yeah, what was up with the star pattern?
We still do not know. I think that the star pattern vaguely looks like Mordor if you flip it the other direction.
They are also close. They also have the rocks.
Yeah, so they are somewhat close to Mount Doom.
Mm-hmm.
We still know nothing about that constellation. We do know, actually, I forgot to point this out to you, that the one of the women in white has a shield with the star pattern on it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So they're connected, at least, to what he's seeking. We do not know the rest of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think that all three women are kind of spooky.
Okay, could it be? All right. Well, now this kind of goes into this actually kind of goes into the preview that we watched, because it might be a connection.
There's a lot going on.
Because I'm thinking now, all right, because I don't think he's going to Mount Doom necessarily. Because that would not make sense.
I don't think he is either.
And in the preview, spoiler alert if you don't want to know the preview, because again, the only reason why we watch the preview is because we are grasping at straws. We do not know what the fuck is happening. In the preview, the man is in the forest along with Nori. They seem to be in like that similar place.
Yeah.
It also implies that those people, the Malar, the ones in white, the Meteor Man and Nori's group, they're all going to converge in one location in a magical forest. Okay. Hypothetical time. What if this place that they're in is a place of power for the Malar?
Very possible.
Okay. And what if, and I'm using colorful language here because I don't know how else to describe this. What if Meteor Man's grand plan is to go to a magical forest to upload his magic to the cloud so that Halbrand Sauron can download it? I don't know.
Okay, a lot going on here.
Because I'm like, because it doesn't make sense. Because it's too late for him to be going to any of the characters that we've been introduced to.
Yeah. So okay, this is. I agree. I think that originally, so wherever he's going to a location that I do think has to be a place of power.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of places that can be a place of power.
Mm.
One of which actually would be the capital of the elves.
Okay.
So there is potential because the trees are from the area that the elves and the Malar are from.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there is a potential connection there. The trees are much more holier to the elves, but they're all from the same place.
Mm-hmm.
Things get a little tricky when we start looking at him uploading his consciousness or uploading his powers type thing.
Yeah, I don't. That's where I'm like, I know it's a stretch.
So
I got nothing.
I think that wherever he's going, he has no memory. He could be looking to get his memories back. And if our theory about Halbrand holding Sauron's memories holding Sauron's memories and personalities while he holds Sauron's power, i.e. the way that Sauron split himself in the ring.
Yeah.
All of that works. The idea there would be that he would need to be looking to reunite with Halbrand. And Halbrand would also need to be looking for a way to get to the same star coordinate.
Yeah.
If it turns out that the star coordinate takes them to the capital, then it all works. If it turns out that the star coordinate takes him literally anywhere fucking else, then
shaky.
Yes.
Yeah.
The tricky thing is, like, if we're going with the idea that he's Sauron, then maybe he gets to where he needs to go. It's clearly a place of power for the Malar based off of the fact that they have it on their shield and are actively hunting this dude down and trying to track him down.
Yeah.
So the question here now is, what allegiance do these Malar and White have? The fact that they're wearing white implements that they would be kind of associated with the greater good of the Malar, which is the whole idea that the White Council was formed behind with Saruman at the top, then Gandalf, then the other blue wizards, and I believe a couple other characters that we may have actually already met.
So they could be like an order of white wizards.
Not necessarily, because wizards are a name that, like, the idea is that we give them the title of wizard.
Okay, well, you know what I mean. They're an order of white Malar.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And Malar can take on whatever shape they choose to when they come in, but they will hold the same amount of power regardless.
Right.
There is, this is where it gets tricky. So if they're trying to hunt him down, and like, let's say, what if they're evil Malar? What if they're Malar that were originally allied with Sauron and then are like poking their head out, and the entire White Council and white stuff that I just said is thrown out the window, and the fact that they're wearing all white means nothing.
Yeah.
Then they could be looking to reunite him with his memories. If they are from the White Council, they're looking to smite him. And maybe because he has no memory, he's just going to the one thing that might be primal to him, which is a place of power for the Malar.
Yeah.
So, again, we're grasping at straws here. I don't really feel comfortably set in any of these theories.
No, I'm like I have a handful of darts, and I'm just throwing them all.
I do think that this is going to be like highly dependent on what's going on. The other option is if he just turns out to be a wizard, then we have to ask the question of why are other wizards hunting him down?
Yeah.
So no matter what,
also
he is an opposing force to someone.
Well, that's the thing. We don't know that they're hunting him down, like to kill him.
No,
we know that they're
looking for him.
They do, they could be like,
they're
hey,
tracking him at the least.
They could be like, hey, boss, we're here. Like he told us.
And then he's like, I don't remember anything. Yeah. So no matter what, we're going to get a major character reveal for this character by the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Will our theories shape out to be correct? Who fucking knows?
Who would have thought that in the penultimate episode, all of our theories would come down to the flip of a fucking coin?
Honestly,
everything could go anyway. It could literally is Isildur dead? Maybe. Is Halbrand Sauron? Maybe. Is he gonna trick the elves? Who knows? How about the Meteor Man? Is he evil or good?
It's the penultimate of season 1, so whatever reveals they decide to give us can still be hidden for later.
I just hope that there are reveals.
I think it would be stupid of them not to. At the very least, we will find out who the Meteor Man actually fucking is.
And I think we should also find out whether or not Halbrand
is Sauron. We will find out.
Yeah.
So I guess on that, let's end the episode on the fun fact of the week for The Lord of the Rings, or our Tolkien fun fact. So I want to say real quick, in honor of Game of Thrones, I am throwing this one out there. Did you know that Aragorn married his cousin?
Oh, the woman that he in the movies?
Yes.
That's his cousin?
Like canonically, Aragorn, the character.
Yeah, the woman that he knows.
Yeah,
in the movies.
So, yes.
That's his cousin?
Yes. Technically speaking. Well, technically yes and no.
What?
They're step cousins.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
That's
for anyone that is unaware. So Aragorn is actually raised by Elrond.
Okay.
So,
really?
Yeah. So Elrond Elrond, the guy who's full of so much life, maybe up until this episode.
Yeah.
We have still yet seen him turn into total crotchety crotch face, but he raises this kid, and the entire time he has this daughter who's not home.
Mm-hmm. And then comes
home and is like, who's that fine looking man? And proceeds to hit on him relentlessly. And then they get married.
Is that a porn parody? Does that ever happen?
Actually, that would be a fantastic porn parody.
Someone make that.
See you next episode.
That's all I got.
All right. Thank you guys so much. We're going to be sticking around, seeing what exactly happens on the next episode. And
until then.
Yeah, it's the return of the show.